Hello, everyone, and welcome to Crusher Convo, where we are crushing the conversation one episode at a time. I am your host, Jesse, and today I am very excited because we are totally crossing the streams. I have Star Wars enthusiast, closet Star Trek fan, and host of Twist My Own podcast. Okay. I have Josh with us today. Hey, Josh.
Hey,
How are
I
you
I don't
doing?
I'm good. I don't think I'm much of a closet Star Trek fan. People know that I like Star Trek.
I think they know now. I feel like when you were on last season, you were all like, "Oh, more Star Wars," but I did start with Star Trek,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
but I think that was it, and I've always mentioned this before. You were always either or. People were like, "You can't be Star Trek if you're Star Wars," or vice
Oh,
versa. And
yeah.
my husband, he loved both, but he didn't know very many Star Trek fans, so he had to be a closet Star Trek fan
Gotcha.
and be able to express his love for Star Wars. But I think the only two people that really knew about it was his best friend from high school and then me, because he kept trying to get us to watch The Next Generation. And it took 20 years, but I got there and now I'm the bigger fan. He's like, I've created a monster. So I
Okay,
mean,
though. Now you guys have a good common ground. You can nerd
we
out
do have a good comp.
together.
Yes,
It's,
yes. But I
you
mean,
can
look,
debate who's better, Han Solo or Picard. Like, it's just.
that would be hard for him. I shouldn't even put him in that predicament. I really shouldn't.
I smell an
But
episode coming.
I I've been trying to get my husband on since I started, so that might be the
There you
episode to do
go.
that. Now, I do have some questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so where did it all begin? Where did your Star Wars and Star Trek journey begin?
Hmm. Dang. Definitely when
How
I
did you
was a
become a
child.
fan?
Uh,
Right.
it, My dad was always really big into Star Trek, so I watched Next Generation a lot when I was a kid. Never really understood it, always got bored.
Mhm.
Um, I went and saw the movies with him, like those mid-90s Star Trek movies with like Insurrection and First Contact, all that stuff.
Right.
So I was honestly introduced to Star Trek first and had I liked it because my dad liked it. He had the original, I think, first two seasons or something of the original series on VHS.
Mhm.
So I always watched the
Classic.
Trouble with Tribbles,
Yeah.
because as a child, that was one of my favorite episodes.
Right.
And and then my uncle, my dad's brother, actually. So this is kind of funny because it was like my dad was Star Trek and my uncle was Star Wars. He brought over the special editions one day. It was a couple years before Episode One came out. They released the special editions of the original trilogy, and he let me
Uh-huh.
borrow it, which in turn ended up me just keeping it. um, because I wouldn't stop watching it. Return of the Jedi was my absolute favorite,
Right.
and so that really started my obsession. I could understand Star Wars a little more. Good
Mhm.
guy saves girl, fights bad guy, blows up ship. Excellent. Like
Mhm.
there's not much else there. And so
Right.
that started my love. And then, of course, episode one, I saw that in theaters. I think I was 9 or 10. I actually just took my stepson to go see episode one because it was kind of like nostalgic. I was like, oh man,
Right.
I'm gonna take you to go see it too. And
Mhm.
so I would say, yeah, it started as Trek and then slowly evolved into Star Wars, and it just kind of went from there. So,
I mean, I understand that because when gosh, my daughter, I believe, was 7 or 8 when The Force Awakens was coming out, and I got excited because she ended up seeing that trailer, and that got her excited to watch the original Star Wars.
mm.
So, I remember taking her, and she put little Leia buns, I got her this Vader T-shirt and a Batman cape and a Vader mask with Leia buns. There she is walking into the theater. And that was so important to me. Like, no matter what I experienced as a kid with my brother, that was so special.
Mm.
Right. And then even when her 10th birthday happened, it was around The Last Jedi. She wanted to have a Star Wars birthday and she dressed up as Rey. And
Nice.
so I have this picture and it's full on costume, staff, everything.
That's awesome.
So those were the memories that I enjoy. I did a Christmas card once where I'm like in a Red Riding Hood cape, but like I did like a full shot and I had a lightsaber, and then she's in the back with her lightsaber as dressed as Vader, Leia, whatever you want to call her, and that was our Christmas card.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. And as much crap as I talk about the sequel trilogy, the kids still love it. And that's still what it was about, was
Right.
the kids.
Right.
And so seeing, the younglings, fall in love with Rey and Kylo and stuff is
Mhm.
really cool. It's because it's still bringing them into the galaxy and
Exactly.
starting their
Yeah.
obsessions. So,
Which is kind of the same way that happens with Star Trek, right? Because when JJ decided to do them, it brought a new fan base, and then Discovery came out, and then more people started watching them. So
mhm,
it's always good to keep these stories going because you're going to be creating new fans, right?
mhm.
But, sometimes it's just better to create different stories. Like we don't need to always hear about Skywalker. We don't always need to hear about Picard. As much as I love them, there are
Mhm.
different areas that we can explore, in my opinion. I don't know about
Absolutely.
yours, but in my
I'm
opinion.
so excited for the Acolyte to come out. I'm just for that
Yes,
reason alone, for it to be
right.
away from the Skywalker saga.
Exactly. Now, what is it about Star Wars and Star Trek that you love so much?
Um, I mean,
Or
it's just
one
so
more or the other?
fantastical, They
Yeah.
I love the adventures, the sense of heroism and just all the mysticism of Star Wars, especially being able to use the Force and I
Mhm.
feel like there's a I don't know, a common hope between people in the Star Wars universe and people in the real world,
Mhm.
to want to do good and want to make sure that people are okay and stuff. And as far as Star Trek goes, I love the exploration of it. I want
Yeah.
to do that. I want to explore space. Like that is something that I've
Yeah.
dreamed about, going to different planets and meeting different species.
Mhm.
I started a Facebook page probably 15 years ago called "I Totally Believe in Aliens," and it's I've always
I
been
love
into
that.
that thing. So, um, yeah, I think that there's two different sides to both stories, and they're so similar, but they're so different at the same time that
Mhm.
you get different satisfactions from each product.
Yeah, exactly. But it's similar how you mentioned for a better future and to have hope, right? That is kind of the motto for both Star Wars and Star Trek.
That's
When
true.
you when
That's
you
true.
you know, and they're similar in a lot of ways, and it's so funny when there used to be, you don't see it much anymore, but back in the '90s, it was a battle between the 2, and I remember hearing a story, I wanna say in '99 when episode 1 came out,
Hmm.
everyone was waiting in line, and then a bunch of just Trekkies came up and just popped out and just started being like, "Star Trek," and then there was, like, this yelling
I
back,
heard
and
that
that's just
happen.
how it was.
I heard that happened a
Well,
lot all over the place.
a lot. Yeah, or vice versa. So when they were
Yeah.
going to see Nemesis, here comes Star Wars fans, and that's
Yep.
just how it was. Now it was, I think, a lot of fun banter, but I think some people took it way too seriously, as we have discussed. Star
Yes.
Wars fans are take it a little too seriously. I see it sometimes with Star Trek fans, but not as bad.
I think it's happening
So,
a little more lately now that Star Trek fans have more to watch and they have
more
more
to watch.
ammo, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. That it has gotten probably a little bit worse than I would have liked to see,
I
but
mean, I don't think it's a bad thing because the products they're putting out are good. Picard,
yes.
even with all of its shortcomings, it was still a fun watch.
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds has been awesome.
Yeah.
Discovery, I mean,
Discovery.
they're all really good. Even Lower
Yeah.
Decks, they're all
Yeah.
amazing shows. And that's another difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. I feel like Star Trek content has just gradually gotten better, and Star Wars content has gradually become a money grab.
I could see that. I could totally see that. Yeah. Now, tell me about how you got into podcasting because it wasn't necessarily a Star Wars
Ooh,
podcast, right?
no, it was not. It's originally I started the Twist My Arm podcast. That was in 2016,
Mhm.
something like that. At 2015, I don't know. It's been almost 10 years since I started podcasting. I honestly, I love talking to people. and I started listening to, podcasts back then, like pretty religiously. I'd listen
Mhm.
to a show called The Weekly Planet. There's a show called Rebel Force Radio that's all like that one's Star Wars. The Weekly Planet's a kind of a nerdier, like Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek. They talk about all of it. And of course, I listened to like the Kevin Smith podcasts whenever it was a little bit more underground and not as huge as it is now. And it
Mhm.
just, to me, it always seemed like so much fun to just have a conversation with friends. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of how it started. I got this gaudy 18 channel mixing board with the one microphone because it was all I could find. My dad helped me with that. He loaned me his big mixing board because I needed something to record with. I got this shitty little laptop, and just started making shows. I just would, through the week, I would find different stories to talk about and
Mhm.
invite some friends over. We'd have some beers and just have a conversation. So that's how it started, and then it gradually morphed into a lot more. During COVID, I had a network, the Twist My Arm Network, where there was like 6 different shows in the network. That's where
Nice.
Sudden But Inevitable started. It's where my Marvel podcast started. That's where Quest Me started. Um, and then COVID ended, and so people didn't have time to do podcasts anymore, or they went
Mhm.
on to do their own shows, and it just kind of shrunk back down to Twist My Arm. So I did a small reboot over this last year, and this the whole premise of my show now is not just to have a conversation with people, but I'm also twisting my listeners' arms into checking out something that they might not have looked at before. Like
Right.
I interview bands, I interview small business owners, I've interviewed like hairstylists, like just kind of local people around the block that
Mhm.
you might not normally see, to kind of bring awareness to the smaller people. So
I mean, and that's how I started, was the same thing. Just barely, I mean, you could say I got my arm twisted watching Star Trek, and I got so into it and I fell in love with Beverly Crusher, and it was like I want to have conversations with people. I want to hear their thoughts and just have these ideas about her character, especially knowing that she was going to be on the season 3 of Picard. And it took off. People just love talking about Beverly Crusher, but it was also just more in depth. And I like having those in-depth conversations because I
mhm.
think as kids we didn't notice it with like Star Wars and Star Trek, but as adults we're noticing like, oh man, this happened to this character. And then they had to go through this part, let's say Picard and the Borg,
Mm.
right? That was a violent, traumatic event that he went through. And then he was still being a captain, but then he had PTSD at some point. We didn't
A lot
really
of
clock
real
that
life.
as children.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and that's where I liked to kind of pick apart Beverly Crusher because her character is so unique in the way that you can literally put her character in any different universe, in my opinion, right? And this is kind of one of the reasons that I decided to do Star Wars was because that is what I grew up with, that is what I know. And but I could literally see her just being plucked over and she would fit in because that's just her personality.
Yeah.
And just the kind of character that she is. Now, of course, Beverly's origins, she had this very Star Wars type history. She was born on the moon.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
It wasn't a space station, but it was just it was Luna. Her parents died at a young age. They just said that she was a child. So between what, 5 and 12 or whatever. She grew up, she survived a planetary disaster on Arvada 3. She learned how to heal people with just, plants and roots and things like that. And so it was just very interesting that those were she went through a lot and then she decided to join an organization to go help people and explore and do new things, and I could see her just in Star Wars just based on that stuff, right? So, I remember you and she had 2, not 1, but 2 sons who were special, so Jedi children, right? And I'm just saying.
They had a midichlorian count. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, come on. Wesley's a traveler of time and space. You never know, which means it's Beverly special. It's just there was so much cause and effect is a good example that Beverly was special. Something was going on there. But we only got little very, very tiny little stuff of her past, like in Arsenal of Freedom, Conundrum, and Sub Rosa. We didn't get very much, so we had to kind of create our own stories. But once you know those kind of stories, it changes the character a little bit in your eyes, right? So when you're watching her in an episode, you're like, oh, that's why she's so emotional, or that must hurt her, or that must be very important, which is what we saw in Star Wars, So I did have these 3 questions that we both had our answers to. And it's I decided to do these 3 because like I said, I could just see Beverly in it, and it just was very exciting. And one of your answers, we got so stoked, so I can't wait to talk about that one. But but first, I'm going ahead and talk about what show would Beverly be in. And we both picked Andor, which, fun fact, Andor is actually one of Gates McFadden's favorite Star Wars shorts. She thought it was fantastic.
Perfect.
So I know, right? I'm not sure if she's watched all the Star Wars shows, but she definitely was like, I saw Andor and it was brilliant. And it was.
I'm sure she has. Don't
She
let
did
those
say
Star
her
Trek
son
actors...
was
Yeah, even William Shatner went to episode 9. All right, don't let them fool you. We know they did.
Her son Jack was a fan of Star Wars, so she does know Star Wars. She didn't know Star Trek, but she knew Star Wars. But why did you pick this for Beverly?
I feel like Beverly just makes sense in Andor. Having
right.
a doctor, you take the Starfleet uniform off and you throw on some like rags and that dirty kind of Tatooine like clothing, and have her be a doctor, on a planet. Or on the flip side, you could have her be a scientist working on the Death Star, like working for the actual Empire.
Right.
But there's so many different things, because you say that and it's like, well, would Beverly really work for the Empire? And it's like, well, she probably would have been tricked into working for the Empire, because originally I would assume she would have probably been part of the Republic. And then once the Republic fell, she just automatically started working for the Empire, which would put her in a little bit more of a conflict of interest, because she's
difficult situation.
She's a good guy through and through. Like, she's got the right morals. She's got, for the most part, like, she's always got a good head on her shoulders. And I would think that, in Andor, she would be working for the Empire, but slowly would defect from the Empire and help out the rebels.
Yeah. I can totally see her just jumping in, grabbing a gun, a phaser, rifle, and just start defending defending anyone who needs it.
Right.
Because Beverly was always one to put everyone before herself. Right. So she could just totally fit into this scenario, especially knowing that it was for a greater purpose to try and stop the Empire. And and this show was so good. Like we said earlier, it was nice to kind of step away from the Skywalker saga and see what else everyone was going through. And that's why Rogue One, to me, is still the best Star Wars movie that they've done, just because it was different and it still ties in with the Skywalker story, right? So I think I could just see Beverly like right there in the corner, just ready to,
Yeah. And you never know, maybe she's like a friend of Mon Mothma's. She's maybe she's Alderaanian, and even though they're part of the Empire, they're, working against the Empire.
Right. Now the next question I had was, who would be Beverly's bestie? You gave me 2 answers, and so I put them both up because I'm curious of because they're 2 totally different answers. So Tell me all about
Well,
it.
so I think at first she would probably be really good friends with Dr. Pershing because they're both doctors, they're both scientists, they both
Mhm.
want to do work for the greater good, at least for the most part Pershing does, and I think that's where their
I felt
personalities would
bad for him, to be
collide.
honest.
Yeah, oh, me too, but he's still
I
like,
mean,
I don't know, he
but
was so conflicted to me where it was like I
exactly,
just
exactly.
want to do my work no matter who I have to do it on. And that's
Right.
kind of
He
what.
sounds like, Bruce Maddox
Yeah, yeah.
from
There you go.
a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think that would be where I'm honestly like I've written this story in my head of Beverly being in Star Wars and
Nice.
she would
You must
be
have got
like
so excited when I
yeah,
asked you.
she would be part of the Empire with Pershing working in scientist stuff, and then they would clash somehow because he wants to do his own thing, but she's really seeing the lies of the Empire. And so
Right.
on her way out, she steals a protocol droid, and then that's like her was it Hu Yang from Ahsoka, the Jedi training
Yes.
droid, you know?
Yes. Uh-huh.
It'd be
David
kinda like
Tennant?
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it'd be like that sassy droid that would be with her all the time, that would give her
Mhm.
advice or be able to translate for her when she's working on, if she's having to help someone that speaks a different language that she doesn't know, then she can use
Yeah.
that protocol droid to help, um, you know, to help them.
Right, right. So it'd be kinda like, I mean, as much as BB-8 was, oh, like Poe's, droid,
Mm,
it's more like a Rey and BB-8 relationship, right? Because
yeah,
he was helping her, and then they would fight, and they would help
right,
each other, and then,
right.
that's how it would go down. But yeah, I could see that totally having, that kind of buddy, which is kind of how C-3PO, Anakin created him, okay? And that was his buddy, right? That was who was always with Anakin when he was little, and he was there through the whole thing, which I did enjoy that aspect, seeing how he started with
Yeah,
baby Vader
yeah,
and went up to see his children grow up,
right,
and
but had
even
no
in a sense
idea.
and had no idea. Yeah.
I think the only
So,
droid that never got his memory wiped was R2-D2. So R2-D2 would be that old man sitting around the campfire being like, "I could tell you some
I got some
stories."
stories. Exactly. And then he's cursing along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That would be R2. That's why
yeah.
my ringtone is literally, R2's little beeping, but I did
Oh,
have
nice.
one of his screaming where he's going across and then he
Oh, yeah,
hits the wall. Yeah, it's just I
yeah.
love R2. That's my favorite. Now, I picked Leia.
Oh,
And
okay,
it's just
yeah, yeah.
because, and here's the thing, it's just because they're both badass women who have these very Leia did grow up in a very privileged childhood, right? I mean, the Organas treated her like a princess. She was everything to them. But because of her origin, as we saw in Obi-Wan, there was definitely some enemies, right? And of course,
Mhm.
Beverly didn't, she had some great upbringing because she was with Felisa Howard, which was her grandmother. But they both been through a lot, man. Like these women have gone through hell and back, and I can see them totally being there for each other. This was an image that I created when The Force Awakens was coming out. It's more of a banner size, but I always liked that quote where it says, "You've always been the strong one,"
Mm,
because no matter what Leia went through, she always beat those odds and excelled and did better and put others first, right?
yeah,
She
absolutely.
did some stuff to protect those that she loved. Same thing that Beverly would have done. Um, so I wanted to show real fast before I continue. So here's Leslie on Twitter saying hello, and then here's Tim. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hello, Tim. um, but yeah, I just figured this would been a really great friendship, and I loved Carrie Fisher. She just her attitude, the way she just had no F's to give, right? Um, and just also how open she was about mental health, because mental health is just a huge I'm a huge advocate of mental health, and she was so open and raw about it, and it made me feel that it's okay to be open and raw about, my own struggles. And when she passed, the hardest part was telling my daughter. And that was because she just got into Star Wars, and I had to let her know that, yes, the actress had passed away, but my daughter kinda knew. She kinda looked at me, she's like, "Carrie Fisher died, didn't she?" And I was like, "Yes, sweetie, I'm so
Whoa.
sorry." And she burst into tears,
Oh,
bawling her eyes out, and I'm all like, "It's the people's princess, right, of in Star Wars. This is who we looked up into and adored, and here I'm looking at my daughter reacting, but I remember being her age and enjoying Leia, and it was just this moment where I was, like, holding my kid and just, like yeah,
mm.
we
That
had a
was
moment, but
devastating for a lot of people, for sure.
it was
She
so
made a
rough.
pretty big impact on the world.
She did, man, she really did. Now, I do wanna say real quick that not only Leia would have been her best friend, but she totally would have protected Grogu at all costs, okay? I mean, absolutely, that baby, she would have been like, "Hell and back will survive for this child."
But, like, wouldn't
So,
most people?
I mean, honestly, he's adorable, like, come on,
"Don't you touch
except for those
Grogu."
except for those little creatures who Grogu kept hugging, and they're like, "Get off of me."
Oh,
I
yeah.
still bust up laughing. Oh my gosh, I think I, like, almost had a hernia. I was laughing so hard on that scene. It was so great. But, yeah, she would totally be helping Mando just,
Yep,
"We gotta save the child," you know?
yep.
But, so my last question, though, was Sith or Jedi?
Oh, yeah.
And you were starting to head into the Jedi route, but then you changed your mind, which I thought this was pretty dang awesome because I could totally see Gates McFadden being a kick-ass Night Sister. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I feel like most doctors probably would be more on the Night Sister realm, like, because it's a little less black and white. The Night
Uh-huh,
Sisters have a little bit more of a gray area to play in, I feel like.
mhm,
Um, and
which is very
you know,
Beverly, yeah.
they can raise people from the dead if they need to. So,
They're helping people.
yeah, but again, I don't think she would choose to go either fully good or fully bad, because to me, she seems like someone that does the right thing no matter what the optics are.
Yeah,
And Night Sisters, of
yeah,
course, they do a little more evil stuff, but s you know, some Night Sisters aren't that bad.
right. Yeah, that is true, and we've seen it with Beverly where she always went against the Prime Directive if she knew it was going to be hurting people, right?
Mhm.
Which you can kinda say the Prime Directive is very Jedi.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Right? So, she would be like, "No, no, no, that's not gonna work for me."
Yep.
So, yeah, I could totally see her doing that. Now
Yeah,
Tim
I like
says
this, yep.
yeah, Ventress,
Having
I
her be a morally gray like Asajj Ventress, and that makes sense because
mhm,
Asajj was a Night Sister too, if I'm not
right.
mistaken.
I think so.
But she did awful things, and then she did some good things. You kinda saw that in The Bad Batch that I reluctantly watched. But Asajj coming in there and showing how she'd kinda changed, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, it would. There are a lot of great characters because, we even saw it with Ahsoka, okay?
Thanks, Tim.
She There it is, yeah, it was a Night Sister, yes.
Yeah.
So, we saw it with Ahsoka that her moral compass was being tested,
Yeah.
right? Same with Beverly when it comes to a lot of things. Her moral compass was being tested on so many things, and that's why Picard was so important because there was a deleted scene, and I just posted this on Twitter, where she was saying, if you could have seen the violence that I saw that people were willing to do to take our son, she says, yes, I think I'm losing my compass, because there was just so much brutality just to take Jack, that she was willing to do anything, even murder Vatic, to stop this, right?
Hmm.
And Ahsoka, she walked off. She cut her ties. She was just like, I can't do this. I don't feel I can morally continue with this training if this is the path that it's going to lead me on. So, and I think that would have been the same with Beverly, even if she was going down that path as a Jedi, right? Which just so happened to be my pick. She would have an issue with a lot of the decisions that they were making.
Yeah, I think she
So
would be like a Qui-Gon. She'd stand up like Qui-Gon and be like, what are we doing here, guys?
yeah,
Why
yeah,
are we letting these people
exactly,
take control? Like, what's going on? Why are we fighting a war? Like,
exactly, yeah, and yeah, she would be the female Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean, I hope she wouldn't die the way he did, but
you mean like a hero?
he died like a hero. But I was like, I wanted more Qui-Gon, man. I liked
Yeah, I
him,
know.
but
I
then it
told you,
created the Obi-Wan. So
right? I took my stepson, like I said, to episode 1, and that's all he's been able to talk about. I really like that Jedi that died. It's too bad. I'm really sad that he died. Like, even still, it's been weeks now, and he's like, I'm making him wait to watch episode 2, and he's like, we gotta watch that soon. I want to see what happens with the Jedi.
yeah. Oh, you're like, oh boy,
Yeah.
just wait. Now, do you like 1 or 2 better? Episode 1 or
uh,
episode 2?
oh, that's a that's a trick question. I think,
It is a trick question.
oh man, they're both so good. I would have to say I probably like episode 1 more. I don't know, man, because episode 2 had Yoda fighting, and that alone was, I don't know, the best scene of Star Wars for a long
That
time.
is true. That is true. Yeah.
And like, I don't know, seeing Anakin's turn was, the start of his turn to the dark side. Like, Jango Fett. I mean, episode 2 had the introduction of so many good characters, and really started going all in on the fight scenes and the
Mhm.
graphics and stuff. I don't
Order
know. I
66.
still think Darth Maul was the best, and
Yeah.
even Jar Jar. I still love Jar Jar. I don't care what anybody says. Um,
You are a true fan.
I it's hard for me to pick. I would I would probably say episode 2, because of all the action, because it was just so much fun.
Right.
From the chase at the beginning, trying to find the changeling, to Django chasing Obi-Wan through the asteroid belt. I mean, seeing the clones, like, there was. I would say I'd probably liked episode 2 better than 1 at this point.
Well, Tim agrees with you. He just says, remove that lovey-dovey stuff off Naboo and put in the more
Oh,
Geonosis battle, and you got a good
yeah,
movie.
absolutely.
I have my nitpicks for both. Anakin really annoyed the hell out of me in episode 2,
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
but
episode 1, because he annoyed me in both, but I kind of looked past both of them.
well, the thing is, I'm like, he's a little boy, I can get away with it. But when he's a little bit older, I'm like, come on, dude, grow up. Let's just cut the crap. The whole sand thing, like, just suck it up. Like, come on. And I'm like, he's supposed to be Darth Vader? What the hell? But anyways,
And then he killed an entire race of Tuscans.
I know. Yeah. Then all of a sudden he goes on a rampage. And then episode 3, of course, is the best out of all of them. And he murdered children. So I was like, oh, there's Vader. Now I
There's the
see it.
Darth Vader.
Tim says emo Anakin gives way to emo Kylo.
Well, you can definitely tell they're related.
They're very related. Absolutely. Yeah. It's can't miss it. Um, but I do want to go. So to continue with the whole Sith and Sith or Jedi, I did ask our listeners what they thought. So
Any for your thoughts?
Sith or Jedi poll results. So they picked 0 on the Sith side. They were like, nope,
Wow.
not happening.
Really?
59% for Jedi and neither at 41%. I think it came down to like 36 votes total. So 15 for neither and like 21 for Jedi.
And
But I think it
neither
was
makes a lot of sense for going, like, speaking of if she was an Andor being a doctor and stuff, like it does make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, it's just more of I'm going to assume it's just more because they see her being a rebel scum, right? That she's here to help the cause in any way, and she didn't need to be special in order to do it. I know we've always made the jokes that Beverly is special, but some people are like, I hope she's not, because that kind of would take away from the character a little bit if she had supernatural powers or had some,
Right.
sixth sense about her. So that I do agree in that aspect. But yeah, a lot of people, they're just, I mean, almost 60-40. So I mean, it was
Yeah.
pretty close. But yeah, not one person, they're like, she would never ever enter the dark side, which is a very Leia thing.
Even Luke touched the dark side every once in a while, so it could happen to anybody.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But not Leia. I don't think Leia. She's just like, these boys, man. They just
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
she just slapped people
can't do
around
it.
all the time.
Exactly. She's like, you guys stop it. Now, as we're finishing this up, I did want to mention one more thing, and you can chime in about this. Gates and Terry and the Marvel Universe. I will be sitting down with Tim to talk about Gates being in the comics because she was Queen Marlena from He-Man, and then she became, as we just saw at the end of X-Men 97, she was...
You may call me Mother Escani.
That
was her?
That was her. I lost my ever-loving mind.
I didn't realize that. That's
Yep.
you know who that is, right? That character? Okay.
Oh yeah. Got some Rachel Summers coming into play.
Role next season.
Huge role. Exactly. So to start it off real fast though with Terry, everyone, I mean, I'm excited for Terry. I think this is a great opportunity. He is going to be the executive producer and showrunner of the new Vision, Disney Plus series that's going to come out. And I believe they said that it's going to be probably releasing in 2026. So he is knee deep in getting this going.
Writing.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be after or like right after WandaVision.
Perfect.
So that's where
I've been waiting for that, man.
Yes. And Terry is going to be at the helm with this one. I know everyone's so bummed because everyone's been pushing for Legacy, but of course, he can't wait around forever, guys. And the thing is just that's just how things roll. Legacy can happen later.
I have a lot of questions about Vision, especially because I think Deadpool Wolverine is about to blow up the multiverse. And so is the Vision story going to stick in this multiverse, or is this going to, I mean, there's a lot that could happen between now and 2026 when it comes to this whole multiverse thing. So
Right.
It'll be interesting.
And yeah, and Terry, he has a wide mind and just really knows how to put the depth of these characters on screen, right? We were so excited what we saw on Picard and got huge praises. See, Tim here says, okay, let's start the show. I'm here. That's Ro. Oh, that's Ro. I thought it was Tim for a second. Sorry, Ro. All right. Okay, we got to start over. He just showed up. Okay, so Josh, how did you get into podcasting? Just
kidding. It's a long story. It's crazy because I have this big theory about the X-Men 97 and the greater MCU. Um, it's like I would say it's pretty possible that if Gates McFadden is playing the voice of that character, she could end up being in a live action MCU movie soon enough. I
Maybe.
really think X-Men
I would die
97 will
happy.
cross over into live action, and that's kind of how they're gonna do stuff. Um, and
I
that I
I
mean, that
probably
would
would
be
have a heart
crazy.
attack. Because here's the thing, real quick, bro, love you too, man. We made a joke. There was a screenshot, and I think Tim was part of this, where it looked we were like, "But, Charles Xavier goes to the future and is helping, older Rogue, whatever, do whatever," because she had the white in the front of her
Oh,
hair.
yeah.
And so I was like, "Man, if Gates McFadden was ever in Marvel, I would lose my ever-loving mind."
Ah.
And she did kind of mention something at a convention that she was in talks with Marvel. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, X-Men 97 is coming out. Oh my gosh, okay, is she gonna be in it? I don't know." So as I was watching the episodes, I was just kind of waiting and anticipating, and of course, Mother
It's the
Ascani comes out,
stinger at the
like yeah, and I'm like, yeah, just like hyperventilating. And of course, as if people don't know, Mother Ascani is an older version of Rachel Summers, who is the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey in an alternate universe. So this, like you said, it's going to be huge in season 2. She's going to have this huge role. I'm so excited. I My husband didn't finish 97. I was like, "You gotta finish it. You gotta finish it. You better watch it." And he's like, "Well, I'm on episode 5." Hurry up. And by the way, episode 5's you're gonna cry, but just
That's
get
where
it
it gets
done.
hard.
Just do it. Just do it.
Dude.
Um, he hasn't recovered from that. But and
I still haven't
Gambit was
recovered either.
no, Gambit was my brother and my mom's favorite character. And when I told my mom
Mm.
about the show and I was like, "It was so good." She's like, "Is Gambit in it? Because he's my favorite." I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah."
no.
I didn't lie. He's in it, right?
I
I
have
didn't lie.
I have the issue of X-Men where Gambit was first introduced. That's like my
My brother had
prized comic.
those
Oh,
10 inch
the big
action
boys, the
figures.
giant
Yeah,
oh,
every single one. He had Storm, he had Gambit, he had Wolverine, he had every single one, and then he gave them away.
what? Oh, he
I
wouldn't be
haven't forgiven
there
him about
anymore.
that yet, but I
Don't ever
know.
call me for money again, bro.
Right? Right? I'm all like, "I disown you now." Tim says, "I think there's a good chance she would be in a live action. Mother Ascani would be huge." I
I I really,
know.
really in the at
She
the
would
from the bottom of my heart, I think X-Men 97 is going to be the way that X-Men comes into the MCU. They have
right.
teased it in Doctor Strange, in Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
They keep playing the X-Men theme from the comic or from that show. Like it's it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
And Gates would be the head director for 97 was like, she delivered. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think Gates has ever read an X-Men comic book. I think she has read comics, obviously, but not sure about X-Men. She probably didn't know too much about this character, but they were just like, "Well, this is the character, this is what's happening," and she just got it, and went for it, and just did it 110%.
Give me my 4 lines. I got this.
Exactly, exactly. And so I pulled Tim and I was just like, "We're gonna talk about Gates and comics because this is huge and I really need to talk about it." So
Mhm.
I'm super, super stoked. I can't wait for season 2. They said they're in production. They just started, but of course this stuff takes time, so we don't have a date for season 2 yet. Tim does say Deadpool 3 kicks open the door for the X-Men. I think this is how we
Absolutely.
get them. Yeah.
I mean, this is the best way to do it. That's why they've been hiding in the background for so long. This is Deadpool's gonna bring him in for sure.
You guys are making me way too excited. I was like,
He is Marvel Jesus, so he's here to save the universe.
he is. He is. Oh my gosh. You know what would be amazing is like, Terry is now doing the Vision television shows, and then what if they decide to give him to do the X-Men movie and Gates is in it, and I'll be like, "Oh, a Star Trek
Mm,
reunion."
that'd be
I would love
awesome.
that. That would be awesome. So, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I've been so excited about this, and if Beverly Crusher can, be in X-Men, she could also be in Star Wars, and she could also be I want her in Doctor Who. Like, just put her anywhere. Like, seriously. It is what it is, right? So
Yeah.
real fast, guys, red head alert. So our next episode is going to be um with Ro from Scarif Podcast, who is in the audience right now, and we are going to talk about Far Beyond the Stars from DS9 and what would Beverly do. I am very excited
Ooh.
because I think this is a very, very good episode. It's and honestly, and Avery Brooks was brilliant in this, but I feel Beverly would have some thoughts about how this went down. So I can't wait to sit with Ro and talk about it. Yes. Yes, Ro, that is you there. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of excited about this one. And we're gonna be live next Friday. So you're getting a back-to-back here. We will be here, I was gonna say, I think it was 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So really wanted to throw that out there. I'm super excited. Have a couple
Nice.
other episodes in June that I'm excited about. Not only did I say I'm going to be sitting with Tim to talk about Gates and being in the comics, but also I'm going to be sitting with one of our favorite cosplayers, Aaron, and we are going to discuss season 3 of Picard a year later. Because when we were reviewing it as it was happening, like we had a lot of stuff to say from what we first saw, but as we've rewatched it and kind of really got into the depth of it all, we have more things to say. So, but yeah, so I'm super excited. Ro, next week, next Friday on the 7th, I believe is what it lands on. And yeah, we will be talking about Deep Space Nine. Also, Ro did say, I've been to the future. You guys are onto something. This is just the first step. And he was talking about
Yes.
the X-Men movie. So good. I'm glad. You can give me a little bit more spoilers later on if you can. But you know what, Josh, this was lots of fun.
Heck yeah. Yeah,
I enjoyed this so
thanks for
much.
hanging out, inviting me, and I almost said thanks for coming
Yeah.
on.
You're just trained to say it, right? It just comes out naturally.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to quickly just put a little plug out there, if you don't mind.
No, please.
You're
I was just about to
you're
say that. Tell everyone where where they can find you and what's happening and
Yeah,
with Twist My
absolutely.
Arm.
So you can find me anywhere on any of the socials. Just search Twist My Arm Podcast. I just found out yesterday that if you go into TikTok and just type in Twist, I'm the first person to show up.
Nice.
And then same, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the best places to find me. You can listen to any of my episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts. But next week, I am going back to the Quest Me realm, and we're starting our Acolyte reviews. So
Yeah.
those episodes come out on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we're going to do our live review shows on Thursday nights. It's going to be a real quick turnaround. So Ro is actually going to be on June 13th, and Jesse here is actually going to be on June 27th.
Yep.
So I'm really excited for that. We have a really good lineup of guests. And if you just search Twist My Arm Podcast on YouTube, subscribe to that channel, and you'll get notified anytime that we go live, which will be Thursdays for the next about month and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Ro goes,
He
what?
is
I'm
everywhere.
everywhere. You are. Oh my goodness.
Just can't get enough of
And
the podcasting. I get it.
I know. But it's fun. Like we were
Yeah.
saying earlier, this is why we started podcasting. We love talking with other people about different things. We were crossing the streams. I'm going to probably somehow bring Beverly Crusher into it. I think I brought Beverly Crusher in when I reviewed with you with Mandalorian. Okay. So,
Yeah,
there's
I'm
some
pretty sure
way
you did.
probably, it would surprise me if I didn't,
I think
and it
she
was
ended
the
up
first.
being a Mandalorian by the end of that episode.
I think so. I'd probably mentioned that she would be protecting Grogu at all costs, and it's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same
Yeah.
idea, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think I did episode 3 on that one. It was where he had his cute little armor on his chest
Oh,
and we were dying.
yeah.
He looked so freaking adorable.
Yeah.
But episode 5 felt good to me, so I can't wait to see what that episode is. Tim says, "Talk nerdy to me," and we will. Don't
We will,
worry.
baby.
Don't worry about that. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to be doing that with you. You could also find Crusher Convo on Instagram and Threads. And I've also decided to do a buy me a coffee, which is right over there in the corner.
Great.
If you can't really scan that, I'm not sure how well it works. You can go to my website at crusherconvo.com where you will be able to find all of the videos and Instagram pictures and things like that. You're testing it out. Is it working?
Sure is. Good to go.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds good. So yeah, if you guys want to buy me a coffee, I will greatly appreciate it, because I have also decided to clip this up and put it on your favorite podcast app. So Spotify, Apple, Good Pods. If you can't make it on these lives or don't have time to watch the videos, you could definitely hear me on there. And I have great guests coming up, and I have a couple of very exciting things for July, which would be also the 2-year coming up for Crusher Combo.
Ooh.
But I know I'm really excited. Can't wait to share that with everybody. But yeah, Josh, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I did want to call you the number one Wesley Crusher fan, because when I asked
do
you why
love
you love
him.
Beverly, when I asked you last year, I was like, "Why do you love Beverly Crusher?" You're like, "What?" I don't say I love her, but I do love Wesley. And I was like,
Love Wes.
"That's love Wes, man." Will Wheaton,
He's the man.
you're
I
our
was
boy.
really hoping to
Oh
see
yeah,
more of him in Picard. Maybe they'll do a series with him or something. But
I want Wesley back in everything. Someone was mentioning that, like, we didn't see him in Picard, we didn't see him in Discovery, but they're like, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, anywhere. Just come on, just give us some Wesley. I'm all
yeah,
like, put him on Doctor Who. It'll make sense.
yeah. I mean, he is a time traveler. He could show up whenever. So
I'm saying this is exactly what I'm saying.
yeah,
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly situations, time and space. That's just how it works. So,
yeah.
but anyways, thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie from beginning, saying hello to Tim and Ro for hanging out with us today. You guys could check them off over at Scarif Podcast and FSF Podcast on YouTube and Twitter. Where I think they're on all social medias, and love their videos. So, but yeah, guys, thank you so much, and we will talk soon.
Crusher out.